Welcome to Barbara's Bulletin, the podcast where we bring you the latest news and updates from around the world. I'm your host, Barbara, and I'm excited to share today's top stories with you. We're starting off with a packed show today, folks, as we dive into the latest developments in U.S. politics. It seems like President Trump has been making headlines once again, this time with his recent actions on international trade and education. According to reports from the Financial Times, President Trump has announced plans to impose significant tariffs on imports from several countries, sparking concerns of a potential trade war. The move has been met with criticism from experts and lawmakers, who argue that it could have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. In other news, Harvard University has filed a lawsuit challenging President Trump's ban on international students. The university argues that the ban is unconstitutional and would harm its ability to attract top talent from around the world. This development has sparked a heated debate about the role of international students in U.S. education and the potential impact of the ban on the country's academic institutions. We're also seeing reports of President Trump's attacks on Harvard, with some critics arguing that his actions are motivated by a desire to undermine the university's reputation. However, others argue that the president's moves are necessary to protect American interests and promote domestic education. As always, we'll be bringing you balanced and unbiased coverage of these developments, with expert analysis and insights from both sides of the debate. We believe in giving our listeners a fair and accurate representation of the news, without taking a stance or promoting any particular agenda. So, stay tuned as we delve deeper into these stories and explore the implications of President Trump's actions on U.S. politics, education, and the global economy. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. We're taking a closer look at a developing story in the Middle East, where the situation in Lebanon remains complex and multifaceted. The country is still reeling from the devastating impact of the war between Hezbollah and Israel, which began in October 2023. As we delve into this story, it's essential to understand the various perspectives at play. On one hand, Hezbollah, the Iran-backed group, has emerged from the conflict with its influence over the Lebanese state greatly diminished. However, according to recent election results, the group's popularity among its Shia constituents remains strong. In fact, many races in the south won't be contested, handing Hezbollah and its allies early wins. On the other hand, the new government in Lebanon has declared its intention to establish a state monopoly on arms, which would require Hezbollah to disarm. This move is seen as a significant shift in the country's politics, with foreign donors conditioning reconstruction aid on disarmament. The U.S. brokered ceasefire with Israel also stipulates that Hezbollah should disarm. It's crucial to acknowledge the concerns of both sides. Hezbollah argues that its weapons are necessary for defense against Israeli attacks, while critics argue that the group's arms have unilaterally dragged Lebanon into hostilities. The Lebanese government, meanwhile, is struggling to secure reconstruction funding, with estimates suggesting the country needs $11 billion for recovery. As we explore this complex issue, it's clear that there are no easy solutions. Hezbollah says it has aided 400,000 people affected by the conflict, but recipients claim the funds are insufficient. The group also accuses the government of obstructing funds arriving from Iran, which is facing its own financial constraints due to U.S. sanctions. As we continue to follow this story, it's essential to consider the human impact of the conflict. Many Lebanese citizens, like 71-year-old Khalil Tarhini, have lost their livelihoods and are still waiting for compensation. The situation on the ground is dire, with rubble removal efforts underway, but much work remains to be done. In conclusion, the situation in Lebanon is a delicate balance of politics, security, and humanitarian concerns. As we move forward, it's crucial to prioritize fairness, understanding, and empathy for all parties involved. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, I'd like to shift our attention to a critical and complex issue that's been unfolding in the Middle East. The situation in Gaza has reached a boiling point, with widespread humanitarian concerns and escalating violence. According to recent reports, nearly 500,000 Palestinians in Gaza are facing starvation due to the dire humanitarian situation. In response to international pressure, Israel has begun allowing limited amounts of humanitarian aid to enter the region, but many argue that it's not enough. The United Nations and other international officials have emphasized the need for a more substantial and sustained effort to address the crisis. Meanwhile, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has come under fire from Western leaders, including the presidents of France and the UK, as well as the Canadian Prime Minister, who have called for an immediate end to Israel's new offensive in Gaza. The leaders have warned that they will take concrete actions against Israel if it does not comply. In a recent statement, Netanyahu pushed back against these demands, arguing that his country will not stand down until it achieves total victory over Hamas. He also criticized the Western leaders for allegedly buying into what he described as Hamas propaganda about Israel's actions in Gaza. It's essential to acknowledge the deeply entrenched and multifaceted nature of this conflict, with both sides presenting compelling arguments and concerns. As we strive to understand the complexities of this issue, it's crucial to approach the topic with empathy and nuance. The international community is closely watching the developments in Gaza, and there are growing calls for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. As the situation continues to unfold, it's vital that we prioritize a balanced and informed discussion, recognizing the legitimate concerns and needs of all parties involved. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay engaged.